Mr. Lucas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And clearly, the committee is extremely sensitive about both safety and cost. I'd like to begin my discussion, of course, with the most important question, safety. Mr. Gerstenmaier, since this is the first time NASA will be certifying a commercial crew system for human spaceflight, could you expand for a moment about the differences between what you're doing will be doing in the way of commercial system certification versus the certification process you would be going through for a NASA-developed system?
I think the simplest way to describe it is we have a shared mission assurance or safety responsibility with the partners, where the partners have responsibility to show that the vehicle is safe on their own, to show that it can be used for the intended activities that ferry crew to and from space. But then NASA also ultimately has the certification responsibility when we put our crews on those vehicles. So then we do a detailed assessment along with what they've done. So there's some things we've delegated to them to do to be fully certified, to say they're ready to go. And there's aspects where we double check, we overlook, and we oversee all aspects of what they're doing. So even the areas that they say are certified, we've taken a look at them, we've determined they're appropriate to put our crew on board. Whereas if it's our own internal program, we would do all that work ourselves.
And to that end, let's talk for a moment about the cost issues, and I turn to our friends from Boeing and SpaceX. One of the primary reasons for the private sector partnering in developing these systems, of course, was the concept that providing astronaut access to the International Space Station, the development cost to be shared by the contractors. I think we've had testimony before this committee indicating perhaps somewhere in the 80–90% range of the development funds so far have been provided by NASA. I guess the question I'd simply put to you, how much skin in the game do each of you actually have, your organizations? And whoever would prefer to touch that first.
Well, Congressman, thank you. I don't have specific data available for me today on the amount of investment. The investment from the Boeing company has been significant. And we consider this a strong partnership and an endeavor that we're fully committed to.
I want to say we have all the skin. The future for us is Crew Dragon and Falcon 9. But with respect to this particular number, I have to take this for the record. I don't remember this particular number. I do remember the number for the previous Crew Dragon contract, which was significantly higher percentage-wise.
And clearly the reason I ask this question is the same reason the constituents inquire about this. Simply put, whoever is successful, you accomplish something that will have benefits to your enterprise for a generation or two. So it's a legitimate point back from our folks. Expand for a moment also, if you would, about your dealings individually, company-wise, with NASA so far as you go through this certification process. Have you had any surprises?
Let me just start. Yeah, so I want to point out we have an excellent relationship with NASA. I mean, obviously you have to I guess, get a working relationship on the working level, and that takes a little bit of time until we establish that process. But by now we know how to go through the certification process, and it's not that this is something that happens once we're all done. This is ongoing at this point in time, and works in parallel with the hardware development. I'm pretty confident that we will finish this in time and get the astronauts up there before we have to fly any Russian vehicles. And obviously, the test flights are as planned later this year.
Obviously, a very strong relationship with NASA. We've been a part of every human spaceflight program from the beginning. I think the proof of the relationship is in the product. And as of today, of the 800 verifications, as we look forward to certification of the vehicle, of the 800 plus verifications that we have to complete and send over to NASA, over 200 have already been delivered, and of those, over 150 have already been approved. The other big part of certification is the verification of hazard controls. We have 16,000 hazard control verifications that we have to present to NASA. Of those, over 11,000 have already been dispositioned and given to NASA for review. So to me, the proof is in the product, and the partnership that we have and the disposition of those successfully speaks volumes.
Thank you. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Thank you.